Welcome back to Walking on the London Road. Oxford United suffered a 1-0 loss at St Andrews at the weekend, and I'm not going to be overreacting like I was last week, but there are again some more concerning signs from that. Connor and I were at the game, and we'll go through every bit that we can stomach about that fixture. Connor, how was it, at least for the journey for you back there and back to Birmingham?
What was the chant? We get to go home. Yeah, I was glad to get home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supporters coach journey. It's always nice to get there direct and back. So nothing too no obstacles or anything. So it was fine. Well, how about yourself?
I went with a couple of mates, same mates I went with to Hull with, and yeah, we got walking past a Birmingham pub where they were celebrating like they'd won the blooming league after beating Oxford.
Yeah.
And obviously, the standard match day traffic you get caught in at the end of a game, sat in traffic in
Mm.
Birmingham for about an hour. But, relatively okay. We said that it's probably our closest game of the season. I'm not sure kind of how close like QPR and Watford and so on are compared to our trip to Birmingham, but it's one of the closer games we've got. So like I say, it was relatively quick there and back, but we had enough time to chew over that performance we saw. Um, before I bring up the lineup, I wanted to get over obviously off the back of the whole game. I know I was certainly going into, obviously the game against Birmingham and obviously this weekend against Coventry, that these were games we were not expecting to win. Obviously, the money that Birmingham have spent and the quality they've got available, I thought we would do well to get a point. Was that kind of what you were anticipating as well?
Yeah, that's what I was going into. I would have been over the moon if we'd have come away with even just a point from the next two games. Being absolutely honest.
Yeah. So let's bring up the lineup that Gary Rowett deployed. Jamie Cummings started in goal, a flat back five deployed by our gaffer, unsurprisingly, with Hideo Torrevest at right back, a central half three of Mikhail Helik, Brody Spencer, and Sam Long as left centre half, and then Greg Lee at left back. In midfield, Cameron Brannigan and the welcome return first league appearance for Oxford United of Brian de Keersmaecker. And then we had Sariki Dembele, formerly of Birmingham City, Tyler Goodrum, and Will Lancashire. Connor, I felt that back five actually did okay on the day.
Hmm.
Massive credit, I personally think, to Sam Long stepping at left centre half. I thought he did a fantastic job. But as soon as we saw it, I think I might have even said to you when the team sheet was released that this is going to be ultra defensive and there is lack of creativity, and obviously the two wide men we had very lightweight, and we've seen already this season how easily they get knocked off the ball.
Yeah, I think that the way that we anticipated Birmingham to play was exactly the way that they were going to play. And that was how Gary Rowett set up with how high and aggressive that Birmingham press. It wasn't really a surprise at all. I don't know what you think to that. But as you say, I thought that defensively, I don't think we actually played that bad defensively, although conceding 16 shots and only one was on target. When you compare it to the performance against Hull,
Yeah.
into the two in isolation, you could see that there was a stark contrast. But still, it is a worry that that many chances were conceded against the back line. Um, just touching on to Keersmaecker, he came in. It was a welcome return for him, and loads of Oxford fans were obviously very excited to see him in. He showed glimpses. It was his first competitive game, so he's still getting into his stride. But there were some glimpses and some of the touches and some balls that he was playing out, especially I believe one that he played out wide to Dembele. It got fans very excited. So there's grows more into the season. There's definitely a player in there, but I'm sure that we're going to get onto it at some point. Just again with the way that we play, and we don't really have the options and the power up front to create any chances, and just our attacking outlet is just next to none at the moment. And it's don't know about you, but even against Birmingham, you can say, yeah, okay, it's Birmingham, but it gets to a point where it becomes visually infuriating that we have an inability to create anything.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, Brian Keersmaecker played beautiful ball to Sriki Niabella. I believe he also played the through ball for Will Lancashire, who I think was caught offside, but it was a fabulous ball. And, similar to the first few appearances of Ole Romane, the way he moves the ball, the way he just glides on that turf is, I think we've got a special player on our hands here. But like you say, first appearance, so very much kind of getting up to speed with the championship. Look, let's bring up those stats that you mentioned because it was another absolute trouncing. That being said, obviously Birmingham missed their three biggest chances of that game. Two from Furuhashi and one, I believe, from I think it was James Stansfield. So other than that, like Birmingham's one shot they put in the back of the net, that was obviously from Pike. And let's quickly get that out of the way. Tyler Goodrum not covering himself in glory. I thought it was a really, really poor performance from Tyler Goodrum. And, as much as we were praising him for his performance in an attacking sense, neither Brannigan nor Brian de Keersmaecker closed down Pike. And, it led to a well-taken goal. But, I mean, I will say, like I said, they had two massive chances before that to take the lead, and it was coming. So, we can't say that we were hard done by because they were actually absolutely battering us. But I did feel it's the same kind of mistakes coming time and time again already in the 3 games we've seen from Oxford United.
Yeah, that's true. I guess in a Birmingham sense, you also have to pay a bit of plaudits because I thought Furuhashi, even though he missed those 2 chances, you look at the way that he plays and the space that he creates and the power that he has in his legs to, 1 minute he's there, next minute he's 10 yards past you. So his ability to create space was phenomenal. Yeah, you can see down here on the shot map where a lot of the shots were concentrated. I mean, a fair amount was coming down that right hand side, and Damari Gray and Ethan Laird, they were unplayable that day. But when you're coming up against, let's be brutal about it. When those 2 players, how physical they are and how quick they are, when they're coming up against Tyler Goodrum, there's only going to be one winning down that right hand side, and Taylor was doing as much as that he could do. But going to your other point, it's again the same problems just keep popping up. That lack of concentration for Brannigan giving away the only goal against Portsmouth, and then lapses of concentration against Hull City, and then again not closing Pike down. And I'm going to give Goodrum a bit of leeway. People saying that he should have closed down Laird for the assist. I'm not going to have that. I thought they busted his gut to get back, but you're right. It's there is going to come a point where, and I pray that it's not going to be Saturday, that we totally capitulate mentally. And we have, if we compare it, if we look at last season, what happened against Middlesbrough when they went 1 or 2 ahead, we just threw it in. So that's what I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Bearing in mind the international break is next week, and they think, right, okay, let's just get these first 4 out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I will pay some credit to Birmingham. Obviously, the quality and obviously it was one of the things we were singing in the stands is the amount of money they've spent. I mean, they had close to £30 million worth of strikers in their matchday squad, but the work rate was sublime. Similar with Portsmouth, I said then, it felt like they had a 12th man on the pitch, with just how tirelessly their squad was working. I think also partly it comes down to there's you can see there's a real lack of confidence in this Oxford side, and a side with the quality of Birmingham is going to be able to take advantage of that. I feel like in the first half especially, I thought Greg did a really, really good job, obviously with Longy backing him up, at keeping I think Ethan Laird was their right back, wasn't he? And keeping him quiet. But one lapse in concentration. Brannan gave the ball away in a similar area that he did against Portsmouth, but this time it wasn't capitalised on.
I will say though, Sam, sorry, that we could be having a totally different conversation. It's all if buts and maybes.
Yeah.
How different this chat would be, and how different the atmosphere and the fan base would be in. And it's not through any fault of his own. It was just pure unluck. Mark Harris, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
In the final minute, because he actually made a very good run and he had very good movement to get into the position that he was in, and it was just pure. Everything that could have gone wrong, anything that could have gone wrong that day, that was the one thing that had to go wrong. So if that had gone in, not only for the fans' confidence but for his confidence as well, getting his first goal of the season. But as I said, it's all if buts and maybes.
You're right. I was going to come on to that. If we look at the shot map, the only shot that's in kind of a prime position is that one from Mark Harris in the 92nd minute. And, a lot of people have, given a lot of criticism towards Mark Harris. I thought his substitute appearance, he was, I thought he put, obviously...
I thought he was decent.
Puts in a shift. Yeah, he put in a shift. He was making the runs. Stan Mills, he fizzed another ball across the face, and there was just no one in the right position to prod home. And you're right, we could be having an entirely different conversation if Harris put that in the back of the net. But I will say that we could be having a different conversation if Birmingham had taken their chances.
Yeah.
Because by the time they scored, they could have had those 2 goals and they could have been out of sight. And maybe we would have capitulated. We'll never know, obviously, because it's like I say, it's all if buts and maybes. But there are 2 sides to that argument. I do want to ask this question that's kind of been floating around the fan base about Rowett's decision to drop Elliot Moore. Obviously, in terms of the status as captain, I think we both agree that Cameron Brannigan should be club captain. Over Elliot Moore, because he's got there's just something about the way that Cam will always
the way he conducts himself, the way he conducts himself on the pitch,
but there has been some discussion about Rowett's decision to play Mikhail Helik over Elliot Moore, and was it right to do so? What's your take on that argument?
Yeah, I think it was right to do so. Don't get it wrong. Elliot Moore, what was he captain for near 4 years in League One, and he was a superb captain and a superb defender at League One level. There was even a time, if I remember, a couple of years into a stint in League One, that he was linked with a few championship moves and he decided to stay. So, yeah, he's been a very good captain. He'll always be the captain that captained us to promotion. But I think that now we're in the championship, and even at stages last season, you could see how much better we were when Moore was out of the team. And then, especially in the last quarter of last season, when we had either Helik, Nelson, or Helik and Moore. Unfortunately, Sam, we don't need to tell Elliot Moore this. He's a big boy, and also a big boy. Football is ruthless, and at times you've got to make those changes. I think the only time that he had it taken off him was under that circus, under literally the last match of Carl Robinson, but that was literally that was thrown at a dartboard at that time, wasn't it? Whereas this time, I think that it's more tactical and more strategic. So unfortunately, what's the phrase that I'm looking for in football? There is no love lost in football, but at times you got to make the hard decisions. And I think if anyone's good at making a hard decision, it's Gary Rowett. So unfortunately, I don't, especially with this signing that we've made, which we'll come on to, I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of starting appearances from Elliot Moore in the league.
I mean, there was an interesting conversation that was had on the terrace on Saturday about there's a couple of fans that are convinced that Elliot Moore won't be at the football club by the end of the window. I won't go that far, but I will say that it is interesting the way that kind of the narrative has turned around Elliot Moore, because it was last season and before Helik came in, it was if Elliot Moore's not in that back line, we get buggered.
I think that was true in League One, but not now.
Yeah,
not now.
his defensive presence. You know, we definitely saw times where if he's not in there, like I say, we get royally trounced. But there is certainly, I think it's, you know, the championship is a quicker division.
Hmm.
It's a more tactically astute division, and you know, attackers in this league are making the kind of runs that leave Elliott more exposed. Um, I think he absolutely has got a role still to play at this football
Yes.
club. No question about it. But I think you're right. He is definitely no longer that, you know, the first name on the team sheet under Gary Rout especially.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately for him, anyway, that's the way it's going to be. Yeah, you're right. There, I don't see there's absolutely any way that Rowett's going to get rid of any centre halves, even if Moore's not going to be on the team sheet. He's still going to be on the bench at the very least. Like let's not kid ourselves here.
Yeah,
With regards to going out the window, no, I don't think he'll be going out this window. Not even in the winter, but come this time next year, we might have a different conversation.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's how I see it.
Yeah. So you mentioned a new centre back in the door. He actually uh, hinted at it that might come in last week. Ben Davies has signed from Rangers on a season-long loan. Obviously, he's a player that we wish he could have been available to face his former club at the weekend, but the club didn't get the paperwork in time. He's an interesting player. Obviously, 30 years old, has had a very, very successful time at previous clubs. Obviously, Birmingham, they rated him highly, and I saw a couple of their fans wouldn't have minded if he'd returned to St Andrews, but it was very clear that he wouldn't have got the game time that he's looking for. I think now he's, you know, first name on the team sheet, given the fact
Yeah.
he's a left-footed centre back. You're the EFL expert around here, Connor. Give us the lowdown on Ben Davies' time in the EFL.
Well, he had a very like a good solid you could say successful stint at Preston North End. He always put in like very good solid performances. Nothing outstanding or major, but he was always like a very consistent player. And he had a season at Sheffield United as well, again where he put in some very good sturdy performances in 21, 22. Now that he's at the age of 30 as well, he comes in and he's an experienced head, which is also, I think, something else that we are missing out in our defensive areas and defensive unit, and especially when you got someone like Mikel Helek, who is clearly our best centre half, and we got someone with experience as well. And as you say, left-footed is going to offer tremendous balance. I think that this is a very nice, astute signing, and it's nice to see that something that Rowett came out and that he was calling out for, that we've managed to get this deal over the line. So I think that Oxford fans will be quite pleased with what they see on the eye from Ben Davies. He's also quite good at bringing the ball out and playing out as well, which is also something that we have a history of with those centre backs. So we'll be very, very appreciative of. So it's a very, very good cover, especially while Kieran Brown is out. So as
Yeah.
going back to our previous conversation with Moore, now that we have such depth in central defensive areas, I think this is something that Rowett's has been looking to drill in all summer. So from that perspective, it's a very nice signing for us. And you're right.
Absolutely. Go on.
Go on. I was going to say we shouldn't listen to what Rangers fans said, because you can't compare chalk with cheese, apples and oranges. If we look at what he did, albeit in League One with Birmingham, the best League One side that we've ever seen, and hope that he can bring that and emulate that, and bring some of that, even some of those leadership qualities and calmness to our defensive areas.
And he's another loanee that we've signed who is in the last year of his contract. That's obviously an interesting situation, a different situation compared to Luke Harris. I don't think we'll be, you know, the highest among his suitors when his contract comes up at Rangers. And like you say, you know, he's had a mixed time from what I've seen from Rangers fans. But like you say, you know, he's a veteran of the EFL. And you know, Preston and Birmingham fans rate him very, very highly. Obviously, we've got a week of the window left to go, so this is the time where, I think Edwin Rout will be sitting down and get some serious work done in this, with, to make sure the squad is as good as possible for the rest of the campaign. There's two links that have come out over the last couple of days that I'll quickly go over. The first is to a 21-year-old Hungarian midfielder called Raymond Tot. He's playing in a fairly decent side in the Hungarian First Division. Was playing in European qualification games only a few days ago. And he's rated relatively highly. An interesting thing is that FC Juarez of Mexico reportedly made an offer for him back in January. So there is some established interest in him. Whether they'll reignite that is, we'll wait and see. Obviously, the interesting thing about Liga MX is because they spend a fair whack of wages. So for him, it's obviously an interesting prospect of, does he come to us, or Groningen is in the Eredivisie, the other side he's linked with, or does he go to Liga MX for the money? We've seen young players like Gabriel Vega made the decision to go to a league where they're spending a lot of money for a season, then come back to re-establish their football career. So it's an interesting one. I did a little bit of scouting on him, and he seems like a this is a phrase that's touted out quite a lot. He's a bit of a Kante type. He's not the tallest player. I think he's 5'9", and he gets around the pitch quite decently. Fairly decent defensive action numbers. So it'll be an interesting signing. He's estimated cost, or worth around, I should say, about 600k. So whether we've still got the money left in the bank to put that money down, we'll wait and see. The other one that came out literally before we started recording is Harun Ibrahim, 22-year-old Swedish midfielder playing in their first division, and obviously I've not had time to do a bit of scouting on him, but another player that, is a decent age, 22 years old, and there's the Swedish outlet that was reporting about Oxford's interest in this lad was saying that he may have played the last game for his club because a number of sides have made bids, including, they believe, Oxford United. Look, these are two more defensively minded players, and we spoke about last week. That seems to be what Gary Rowett is after. We spoke about with Will, looking for a all action box to box type. Obviously we're screaming out for number 10s. Is there anything? Obviously we've had a couple of games to look at what else the club might need. Is there any other areas that you think are now of drastic importance? Maybe a loan deal from the Premier League.
Yeah, get us a wide player. Ed, get us a wide player with creativity. We're screaming out for it, mate. Get us one. We're playing Brighton on Wednesday. As rightly said on BBC Radio Oxford on the dub earlier today, Paul Samborder aside, the player development officer, just ask us what you've got in your loan, what you've got up for loan, because we need one drastically, because Tyler Goodrum and Siriki Dembele just aren't cutting it at the moment, as we've already said. And like Pacheta, he shows sparks and he can show what he can do. By the way, on Saturday, I thought that he came on and had a decent appearance, but not consistent. We need someone. We need someone like Mills who has that opportunities, who can create some opportunities to put the ball in into threatening areas. So get us what's Mills moves he goes on the right. So get us a left-sided winger predominantly, please, Ed, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, you're right in that winger is another area of mass importance for us, because, like say Mills is the only winger we've got that looks to consistently put in decent performances. Siriki Dembele and Shemi Poheta, their pace is outstanding and they're very useful to try and get at size on the counter, but they've got such limited end product. And it's a real frustrating one when we turn to the bench and go, okay, we've got pace on the bench, but no end product. or Matt Phillips, who is good with the ball but has got no pace. And
Yeah.
that's what he relied on for the majority of his career in the Premier League. 100% on board with that. Obviously, we've got Coventry coming up at the weekend. They're coming off the back of a 7-1 thumping of QPR. I wonder if QPR fans are hoping that instead of signing Koki Sato and Kwame Poku and Richard Coney and Howard Elias Chair and Karamoko Dembele, that they're going out and get some more defenders. I'm not looking forward to this game. I can't lie, Connor. I'm getting horrible visions of us getting absolutely trounced. Not to be hyperbolic, but this could end up being a cricket score, mate.
So am I, until I'm a couple beers deep on Saturday and think, yes, we're 1-0 in it.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, I get the anxiety that not only you, but a lot of other fans will have, especially 12 goals over the past 2 games, and especially the one that should be more, that a lot of fans should be talking about more, was the 5-1 trouncing that they had against Derby, especially after Derby went 1-0 up. That's the one that a lot of fans should be looking at. So yeah, you're right. And after last season, it was 3-2, which was a thoroughly entertaining game. Bit end-to-end stuff, but I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I did hear one fan on the radio say that Rowett will plays completely different at home that he does away. Well, I haven't seen any evidence of that this season.
Yeah.
So it could be, you never know. It could be a cricket score. It could be a 1-0. Hey, we could even surprise, and we could even get a draw, get a point. That would be nice, wouldn't it? But I don't think that you're alone. The vast majority are going to go into Coventry like they did against Birmingham and say, if it's less than 3, then we'll have done a decent job. But I'm not going to get too worried about it yet, until I inevitably yet again put on a -2 handicap for Coventry City.
Yeah, you're right. Both games last season finished 3-2 to Coventry. That first game, I remember, it was obviously a Friday night game.
Yeah.
And they were absolutely ridiculous, peppering us, and we got very, very lucky that Kieran Brown and Harris scored when they did, and obviously Volks' infamous back pass into the path of Haji Wright. It's this is a different Coventry side. They're looking a different beast. As long as it's not the 6-2 that we got beat in the FA Cup a couple of seasons ago, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I just think off the top of my head, these are 2 completely different clubs at 2 completely different points in their journey. And if I think off the top of my head, Adji Wright, Ephraim, Mason Clark, Van Eyck, Jack Rodoni, who I think is one of the top 5 players in the Championship. Like, just the depth that they have is unbelievable. Like we said last week at Hull, any player that they had from their starting 11 would immediately slot in. Any player that we took from the bench of Coventry City would immediately be our star player. Move aside Cameron Brannigan. That's what we're talking about here. But I think I at the start of the season I had Coventry to be in and around sniffing for top 2. Early days, but they're showing why a lot of people are tipping them to be outsiders for a top 2 space.
I'm sure the media would go absolutely mental with glee if Frank Lampard finally managed to get a side promoted after somehow failing with that Derby County side a couple of years ago. Not to end on a sour note, obviously off the back of that loss that QPR suffered, what's the heaviest defeat you've seen in person? Is the one, because obviously we've been trounced in the past, but thankfully, the Bolton one, for example, I was very lucky to miss that game and not be at the tough sheet. The only one that springs to mind is obviously last season when Middlesbrough, you mentioned it earlier, tore us apart, and it was the Latte Lath show before his move to America, and we got. We looked, and it's the fact that Gregg Lee scored in the opening 15 minutes. I think it was like second game in a row that he'd done that. I was like, we might get a positive result, and then they turn up and rip us a new one.
The biggest defeat I've seen, I think, the biggest defeat I've seen of a margin has been 4. So it would have been, as you say, Middlesbrough game last season, Leeds away last season.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any home ones where we've been absolutely trounced. There's obviously the infamous one where we lost 7-1 at home to Wigan, but I wasn't in person for that one, thank God.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might be those two. Just
It's...
thinking straight off the top of my head. So we've been quite lucky in a way, actually.
Well, the thing is, I feel like we get at least one per season, and it's really horrific.
Yeah. So I'd rather it just be done and out the way before the international break on Saturday.
Yeah. Rather that than go into a game, I don't know, against Southampton or like, I don't know, God. The worst one would be if it was to Wrexham. If we got pumped
Oh
like
yeah.
5-0 by Wrexham, I'd want to...
I'm planning to go to that one as well. I don't think that I can stomach going back.
No, that journey back from Wrexham would be hellish.
Yeah, no, I don't think I couldn't stomach that one at all, to be honest.
So yes, obviously, as Connor mentioned, we've got Brighton Hove Albion on Wednesday in the EFL Cup, and then Coventry at the weekend. I'm expecting 2 losses again, but you never know. Brighton might put out a side of their kids, and we might win 4-0 like we did against West Ham all those years ago. It's the magic of the cup that we've won before.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from Brighton because they haven't exactly had a great start to the season. Whether they're going to bring a fairly strong side, get some winning minutes in. Let's be honest, or if they're going to bring a younger side. So who have they got at the weekend? I think they've got a fairly big clash at the weekend, or whether they're going to bring some of the kids and let them play. So I really don't know what to expect from Brighton. But from ourselves, I suspect that we might put out a strongish side. I would like to see, after his performance in the under-21s, I would like to see Leo Snowden at least on the bench or get 10 minutes if it's possible, whatever the scores. As he's had a very exciting start to the season in the Development League. So I guess we shall see.
I'm hoping that fitness permitting, that we'll see Ben Davis, that we might see Nick Prelic, because I believe Browett said that his fitness is ahead of schedule. It looked like we were going to see him at the beginning of September, but apparently played for the got around up for the under-21s I think at the weekend, from what Browett said.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see we'll see our Slovenian, and hopefully we can get another body in the door before then. Thank you very much for watching Walking the London Road. Don't forget, folks, it really helps us out if you like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, you can also listen to us on Spotify. All those really help us out, and we're in our second season, and myself, Connor, Will, and obviously all the others involved in this show. We work our tails off to bring you weekly oxygenated podcast. So if you could support us, that'd be very much appreciated. We'll see you next week, of course, for the recap, probably very brief, of the Brighton game, and probably a lot longer of the Coventry.